Good afternoon, evening, TEDxYorkU. I'm here to talk about a community that is seen and experienced as two separate places. One community, seen and experienced as two separate places. For me, the story starts on a street. The street's called Shoreham. Doesn't ring familiar to most around the world or in Toronto like Yonge Street, Dundas, Spadina, or Jane Street. If you head to the west end of Shoreham, you see a dead end. You see a fence, some grass. Looking through, you're going to see two warehouses. Right there for a second, cars appear and disappear as they race either into or out of Toronto. Heading east, you're going to pass a whole bunch of bungalows, and those driveways are on an incline, so in the winter you actually have to shovel snow uphill. Not fun. I've actually done it. Not fun. As you continue east on Shoreham, some high-rises begin to appear, about 10 stories or so. You continue, you see the plaza that's almost always busy. As you pass through Jane Street, you're going to then pass the Shoreham townhouses and Shoreham Public School. At that point, you reach a bridge. And that bridge is over a ravine, it's over a creek. Trees, flowing water, tall grasses. On that bridge, there is a plaque, and the plaque is from 1969, engraved with the names of the people who had a hand in it being built. You pass the bridge, first sign of York University in a big red and white YU. From there, ice gardens, tennis center, you see the gym, colleges, residences. At that point, Shoreham comes to an end and veers off into a parking lot. The journey we just took is the primary physical path, the one physical path that actually connects Jane-Finch and York University. Now let's talk about Jane-Finch, Canada's most concentrated neighborhood, located in the inner suburbs of Toronto. It is one of the most diverse and significant communities in the country. Though it's much maligned in the media by literally the paparazzi-like coverage of tragedy and her side effects, while largely ignoring the everyday good news stories. And there are good news stories every day in Jane-Finch. York University, one of Canada's most populous campuses, a town unto itself that started as an underdog and has taken a refreshing approach to higher education, letting the accomplishments of its alumni, faculty, and students speak for the power of their method. The bridge, it brings us across a physical barrier, a ravine. The landscape represents a physical barrier, but the history of York University and its development, the history of Jane-Finch and its development, present us with other borders and other barriers. These include economics, these include racism, educational attainment. So my life has become centered in Jane-Finch and York University, but it's not because I grew up in the area. My family's from Scarborough. I was born in Kamloops, British Columbia. I'll give $50 to somebody who can show me in under 20 seconds where that is on a map. I owe you $50. Upon coming back, I lived in almost every region of the Greater Toronto Area at some point. At the age of 13, my love of hip-hop turned into a love of the DJ. My interest in the art of the DJ got me into community radio, and by the age of 17, I was involved with CHRY 105.5 FM, the campus community radio station at York University. Around the same time, I figured out my own personal science, it might not work for everyone, to success in school. Figure out what your teacher actually wants and just give it to them. Every topic of choice on hip-hop or related material, minus 10% for skipping way too often, equals university admissible grades. Now, I would say there was a point where I really was a likely high school dropout. There's a stat, 16 by 16. You have to have 16 credits by the age of 16. I had 8 at 16. But through that, equation, I was able to turn things around, and I chose York University largely because that was where the campus radio station was. Around the same time I started at York, I met a grad of York. Her name was Kelly, and she, based off of a conversation, was adamant that I needed to apply to the City of Toronto, Parks and Recreation, for a summer job. In the interview, and this is how I knew it was meant to be, the last question that the person asked me was, which MC, Chuck D or KRS-One, and why? KRS-One at the time, just in case you're wondering. I was placed at Chalk Farm Community Center, which is located at Jane and Wilson. Chalk Farm is two major intersections south of Jand-Finch on what is referred to both affectionately and infamously as the Jane Strip. That was the summer of 2000. Since then, between other jobs and my education, I worked at community centers, summer programs from the southern tip to the northern tip of the Jane Strip. This is how Jand-Finch became a part of my life. In 2008, my school and community work came together when I took the position as a program coordinator for a pilot program that brought youth from the Jand-Finch community to York University for a 6-week summer program, and then ran a school-based program out of the local high school from September to June. This position evolved in 2010 to my current role as Executive Director of the Success Beyond Limits education program. During that time, I have had hundreds and hundreds of conversations with York alumni, faculty, admin, students, Jane-Finch residents, parents, youth, community workers on the topic of the campus-community relationship. There is a consensus about this. Nobody's happy. I'm going to ask you out there, really, are you happy with the relationship between York and Jane-Finch? Are you satisfied? Are you excited about it? Are you inspired by it? Why shouldn't we be? The next step in the conversation is, what can we do to have a relationship where the strengths and the resources of both parts of this one community operate together, operate as one? At that point, when you get into that conversation, there's a lot of hope, there are a million questions, there's a sense of possibility flowing through it all, and there is also the sentiment that nothing will ever change. I don't have an answer, but I do have the ability to tell you about a space where this relationship is working. As I mentioned earlier, Success Beyond Limits, aka SBL. To understand, we have to head back to Shoreham. During the summer, over 6 weeks, you can stand on Shoreham at 8 a.m. This is what you're going to see. 3 big yellow school buses hang a right off of Jane, drive over the bridge, down Shoreham to Staunton College. What you're going to see there, oh, that was the Jane Strip hat. What you're going to see there is 100 students from the Jane-Finch community. You're going to see 20 youth mentors from the local high school. You're going to see 8 TDSB teachers. That's the real personality. And you're going to see the SBL staff team together for breakfast. After breakfast, the students, mentors, and teachers are in the classroom working on the first high school credit for those students. The youth mentors are paid as part of a summer employment. They partner with the teachers in delivering that credit while earning their own dual co-op credits. And later on in the morning, come down, lunchtime. Teachers, students, mentors sitting together, eating lunch together. And in the afternoons, we make the most of the York campus from sports, recreation, art, dance, music, video game development, filmmaking. That's July and August. In September, right through to June, we operate a youth space inside of the school, inside Westview Centennial. We offer direct student support, after-school program, and we connect youth to the amazing events, networks, and opportunities that the City of Toronto has to offer. The common thread in the coming together of Jane-Finch and York University is within this space, we see people who care about both aspects of a community. One of the things we have to talk about with this is that what we do would not be effective And it would be absolutely meaningless if we pulled York or Jane-Finch out of it. It exists in that space of the coming together of the two. One of the things, too, is that all the people, and we discovered this later on, the people who are attracted to this, the people who are part of it, all of them had some kind of roots and some kind of love for both Jane-Finch and York University. And knowing and loving both, a part of that love is seeing where we can do better, knowing where we need to do more, and being willing to be a part of getting there. I want to take a step back to how this all started. If you can go online, you can see reports, Learning Opportunities Index, Falconer Report on School Safety. Westview Centennial shows up in the past for a lot of the wrong reasons. And members of the York and Jane-Finch community came together and said, we're unwilling to stand by and do nothing. And that was what led to this pilot project. Now, when we look at this, this is a small footpath in an uncharted landscape. But it's an example and it's a proof of the possible. One of the lessons to be learned here is that this relationship between Jane-Finch and York University being something that inspires us, something when you hear about it, you're excited about it, you're drawn to it, you want to know more about what's going on, it's going to happen through people who are embedded and love both, and it's going to happen with people who are willing to learn what they don't know and willing to embrace that which they haven't embraced before. It's not insurmountable. And on Shoreham, there is a physical path, but this bridge is not enough. There are still, to this day, borders, and these borders have left a mark of separation that's very real. But the borders are made by us. And I really want us to ask these questions. Do the borders around us serve us? Do they do what we need them to do? If not, we have to move them, we have to cross them, we have to erase them. We have a huge opportunity in reconciling these two divisions. It's not simple. I'll tell you that it is not simple. It's not clean. It's not clear-cut. It's not what they call in the sector low-hanging fruit. It's not for the faint of heart. It's going to take risk and a willingness to learn from mistakes, and we have to give ourselves permission to make mistakes in this. Unorthodox approaches, traditional methods have not worked. So from Jane and Steeles to Jane and Wilson, faculty to freshmen, I will say this to close. We are all culpable and capable in this. We are culpable for how it got to be the way it is, to some degree, and we are culpable if we stand by and accept the status quo. But we are capable of being a part of charting this new territory. There is a way to be tried here. Success Beyond Limits has crossed that university community border. There's little in the way of a footpath, not much of a map, but there is more than we need in will and possibility. Thank you.